Hi, I'm Damien from Tempest, and I'm here with Will, one of the Tempest lawyers. Today we want to talk about old debts. Now, one of the questions we sometimes get asked is when we buy debts is how far back can we go? As a rule of thumb, we typically don't like to buy debts that are older than 5 years. Why is that?
There are a couple of main reasons why we don't like to buy severely old debts. The first is that there's a 6-year limitation on how long you can enforce a claim in the courts for, and that's one of the main advantages that we have in terms of debt recovery.
What's that limit?
6 years from the date of the act or omission that gives rise to the debt. And our model basically means that the legal process is something that we use to our advantage. The second main reason is that the further back you go from the actual event happening, the worse your evidence becomes. People's memories become foggier, your paper trail might not be as strong as it once was, the documents might get lost or destroyed. And it might make it easier for the other side to muddy the waters a wee bit and say that, in the intervening period, there's been any number of events that have happened that mean that they don't magically have to pay. It's quite common.
But it's also big because the further back we go, so if we go back 5 years, which is quite common that we do, we come up against a problem is that the entities that owe the money, particularly if we're dealing with a book of debts, aren't always there. So companies fall off the register, they get struck off, they go into liquidation. Sometimes debtors move out of the country or move on more permanently. And so that doesn't mean that we won't buy those books, but it means that the older they get, the lower the price effectively that we're willing to pay.
Yes, and the higher the likelihood, I suppose, that the company might have been removed from the register or an individual debtor has left the country or something.
Well, you've been dealing with a case the last week or so on the issue of late knowledge has come up. So in terms of the Limitation Act, what does late knowledge mean and when does it apply?
Late knowledge basically means that if the 6-year period has ended, then there are some criteria that you can establish to show the court that you didn't actually know enough about the case within that 6-year period for the clock to start ticking on that 6 years. So for example, something happened 7 years ago, but you don't know the specifics of the details, who was at fault, how much damage was caused, what losses owed, etc., then you can show the court that you've got what's deemed late knowledge, and then you've got some extra time to enforce the monies that you think are owing to you.
But from Tempest's perspective, that's quite hard. Again, doesn't mean that we won't look at it, but just the further back in time we go, the harder it can be for us to actually enforce the debts, and often we're enforcing the debts on our client's behalf. That's excellent. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you again soon.
Cheers.
Bye.